life with my watch lifestyle in the day of the life of a watch trader and a watch consultant. This is the Nightwatch transportation. About to go pick up the door tag for the FedEx shipment that came late. It's very, it's atypical sometimes, but it happens. So my name is Cal Knight. I'm the president at Nightwatch LLC. Also go by DBA Nightwatch Collection on Instagram and other social media presence. The name itself is a play off my last name, Knight. Yeah, so the way I got into watches in general and just doing this full time as a watch consultant and watch trader really started early on. I mean, I was always one who loved watches and timepieces growing up because my grandfather wore a lot of jewelry. He liked watches, but that skipped a generation. My father wore nothing, doesn't wear chains, doesn't wear rings, doesn't wear really anything. So I saw my grandfather rocking gold and nice jewelry and all these wonderful things. So I was always intrigued about it. And then when I started out, you know, I think I was ignorant like a lot of folks out there and just wanted to get anything on my wrist when I was in my teenage years. So I, you know, went out and bought a fossil piece of shit. And, you know, basically just got whatever I could for the money. Still looking at watches like liabilities, never being taught that they could be assets. So what really changed me over to doing this and kind of was a turning point, I remember it was probably 8 to 10 years ago. You know, I was really making some money. I had started my full-time job as an energy broker. I was selling like large commodity contracts to Fortune 100 companies, helping them buy electricity and natural gas. So I was always in sales. My background is always based in creativity because I went to school for landscape architecture and design. So with my design background and my people-oriented type of approach and having that sales experience, I was always like looking for some great stuff to keep my mind entertained and enjoy, and watches are just so sexy. So when I was starting out, I was like, look, I gotta graduate to a better timepiece. Like, I can't be rocking this piece of shit like Fossil. And I saw my colleagues and friends and like mentors who were making real money rocking some really nice timepieces, Rolex, Audemars Piguet, even things like U-Boat, which, you know, it's probably on the lower end of the spectrum, but it just looked really cool. So I said, you know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna save up like $1,800 and I'm gonna go buy my first big boy watch. So I went to King of Prussia here to Tornau, which is a big box retailer. And the sales experience was terrible. Like, it was so cold, it was so transactional. They judged me as soon as I got in the door. Like, they were probably like looking at me like, who's this 20-something year old? He probably has no money. Let's just throw him to whatever fucking thing he wants to look at and he's not gonna buy. So they brought me over to the pre-owned section and they had some nice stuff. And after, you know, looking at a few different watches, I ended up settling on a Hamilton Petite Second Railroad classic timepiece. And, you know, I thought, hey, this is a cool starter piece, I'll buy it. And then what blew my mind was I basically paid $1,800 for that with all their warranties and upsells and shit that they wanted to push on me. They just destroyed me on margin. Like, they just absolutely destroyed me. And I remember bringing that watch back when I thought I wanted something else to Govberg, and they offered me like $300 for it. And I was like, are you fucking serious? I was like, this is that conspiracy. This is that murder where they absolutely fuck people. You know, they basically pay you shit for your watch. And I was like, I'm gonna find a way to basically learn the way these markets work and wear big boy timepieces and try to just hold value or make some money. So I saved up another $1,800 and I was looking on Craigslist, and I remember my first like success, my first real timepiece. It was a Rolex Datejust two-tone 36mm on Jubilee bracelet. And I don't usually recommend getting shit off Craigslist, but this guy was legit, thankfully. It was his dad's watch. He just had extras. He was trying to sell it. So he sold it to me, no boxes, no papers, naked. back right near Tornell, actually, at King of Prussia, where we met in a public area. I handed him $1,800 cash, and I just enjoyed that for a couple of months. And what was crazy is the perception of people when you wear something like that versus when you wear shit. Like, I would just walk around and I had old people like looking at me like, damn, like, this person has a Rolex on, this is fantastic, I got to get to know this person. It's almost like your business card, like your calling card. And it just made me carry myself in a different way. Like, I was carrying myself like I could command any respect that I needed. So I enjoyed that for like 3 to 4 months, and then I went to go try to sell it, and I was thinking, okay, I'm going to try to make some money on this. So I went down to South Street here, where the jewelers hang out. There's 2 different jeweler spots in Philly. There's Jewelers Row, which I got to go to later, where the old jewelers are and the watch guys are, and then there's South Street, and that's like where the rappers and the diamond guys hang out. So I don't usually go down to South Street. There's not a lot of value for me in diamond out, bust down watches, even though I have sold bust down watches. But I knew if I could go in there and show them my Rolex, they were gonna slap another like 4K bezel on the thing aftermarket and upcharge it. So they didn't mind paying a little more for a Rolex Datejust because they were gonna kill it on the margin on the diamonds. So I made $400 wearing a Rolex for 4 months, and that's when I was like, damn, like, this is what needs to happen. I need to find ways to look into brands that hold their asset value, buy them correctly at the price where they've hit depreciation, enjoy them, and then I can sell them and make some money. So that's kind of how I got into it. And once I started rolling with that and experimenting, I just started trying all the different brands and figuring out what I liked and was good at and what type of audience I had. And it started out as a part-time hobby. Like, I was still doing this while I was being an energy broker and a B2B sales person, professional. And then, come like 2017, 2018, I was making so much money doing it, and I had so many clients that wanted me to do it. So I was sitting there like, I have to go for this. I'm very entrepreneurial. I've always loved building businesses, and I hated poor management that ruined business. Like, whenever I was working my ass off for a corporation, someone would fuck it up from the top down and just ruin it for everyone else. And I was like, I'm sick of leaving things in other people's control. I need to take control of this situation and be a leader and try to make something happen. People who would hit me up for watches were like CEOs, celebrities, pro wrestlers, like just all around normal great people. And I was like their dope dealer. Like, I was like texting them, and they were like, Cal, what do you have in? What do you have in? And I would respond to these people at like 11 p.m. at night and basically get them what they want, and I was making money doing it. So it was similar to my sales and brokering experience in the corporate world, and it aligned with me being entrepreneurial and creating my own type of approach to things, which is the way building a business is. It's very creative. Very profitable year, very fun year. It's been very crazy. I worked my ass off, but the best part was I was always in control. I was always accountable. If something went wrong, it was me. If something went right, it was me. And I don't mind that, because I'd rather fail doing something that I love, that I'm good at, that I can take accountability for, than being under the supervision of shitty, average, mid-level managers who are going to ruin everything for everyone else. You know, these dumbasses put this fucking tag on the door, and it ripped off on my mailbox, so now I gotta go clean that thing off the mailbox. Like, they're supposed to be there before 10:30, and they're there at like 12, and they want to leave this on the door. I gotta go pick it up at 1800 South Street, and I don't even know what time it p.m. I don't even know what that means. Like, no freaking. Alright, so I guess I just gotta go figure it out. I'm supposed to deliver, I have a Rolex GMT Master 2 Pepsi coming in on the Super Jubilee bracelet. Was super excited for that. But, I waited around until 10:30. Had an appointment that I needed to be at. They don't care, so just left. This is not too bad if it makes sense for my day. Like, if I have to go ship something later and I'm near it, fine, but it just pisses me off, like leaving that stuff on the mailbox, ripping it off. I don't even know when to go pick this up. There's no time frame on it. It just says go to Walgreens. All right, so when are you gonna drop it off there? You know what I mean? I got a client texting me. Client wanted they wanted this very hard to get JLC JJ Lecoute Reverso Duetto for their wife for their birthday, and I had to source that for them, so they're very happy about that. But I like doing that too. I mean, I don't do a lot of sourcing in the sense of someone calls me up to say go find this, and I've never done business with them, because it's usually a wild goose chase. But if it's someone who I know is ready to pay, if they have realistic pricing expectations, or if they've done business with me in the past, then I can find pretty much anything they want, which is fun, because once I get it for them, they'll get all excited and get happy. And it's just funny because these guys are like 60-year-old guys who are like, doing well, and they're like, oh man, thank you so much, like you're gonna make me look so good in front of my wife. And I'm like, awesome, that's great. So being a watch consultant is interesting. There's definitely a specific niche of folks who are qualified to be my customers and who I want to do business with, versus being like a jeweler or a dealer. My clients want education when they're coming through and buying and selling and trading timepieces. They don't just want the transactional experience that they get in the dealership, where some of the representatives have a very general sense of knowledge and can't really help them answer their questions. They want very expertise type knowledge. They want to know what the market's doing, how to get in and out of different brands, and what those mean for their perceived look from the exterior out. So how it makes them look to their peers, to their friends, things like that. And so I love that type of business model. It allows me to have clients that will only come back to me and will never shop anywhere else. So I'd rather have 5,000 of the most amazing clients in the world who want to be educated on watches, who want to get in and out of timepieces and make smart moves and continuously come back to me for business, versus having 50,000 or 500,000 retail clients who come into my store and buy from me once and then they never talk to me again, and they go and buy from someone else, or they're just like looking for the lowest deal. I have people who find me through things like channels like Instagram, celebrities, MMA fighters, CEOs, people who are just consultants, great people, whatever. They find me on channels like Instagram where I'm not paying any money for marketing, so I have zero overhead. People are looking on Instagram when they're on the shitter, like buying $20,000 watches, like, oh, I want a Rolex Daytona. I'm in the bathroom. Let me just hit up this person who has this presence, who clearly is commanding their space and their niche, and just message them about it. So it's crazy how it's just changing the entire game. It's very, very interesting. Being a watch consultant can be a lot of fun, but there's also obviously some challenges and different trials and tribulations to it. The benefits of this lifestyle are I create my own schedule. I can engage with clients who are fantastic, who want the person who's an expert, has the agility to get them in and out of things with low overhead. But there's obviously a lot of tough things that I have to fight through. There's still millions upon millions of people who have trust issues, who would prefer to go into a brick and mortar location and overpay for timepieces because they need that level of security. The other thing that's really interesting and challenging too about this marketplace is educating people, because a lot of folks are fed convoluted information. They just look online on like Hodinkee or like read an article, and they either think they're an expert or they have no idea what they're looking for. And so I have to try to guide them without wasting too much of my time. This is a perfect example of that is I don't usually deal with clients who don't know what the hell they want, because if they're just going to look around and they have no idea what they're kind of getting into or what they are thinking, I can help guide them through some steps, but they really need to go into a place with a lot of different options that has that inventory to try them on, to feel what it feels like. And I don't have the capacity to do that for myself, so I will recommend to them, go in to a dealer, try on some watches, and then come back to me and I'll source you something that's the exact same for a lot less and a better deal. But my bread and butter client is typically someone who at least knows what they want, and then I can go and pretty much get them anything that they want for a better deal. So obviously there's a lot of risk in this business. I mean, in this day and age, it's gotten very scary how good some of these fakes have gotten, whether they're replicas, whether they're clones, which can have pieces that are real and some that are fake. I used to think I was at a disadvantage because I was an independent consultant, and I'm not a watch technician by trade. But the truth of the matter is there's folks who have been in this industry for a very long time who are getting fooled as well. And so you really need to focus first and foremost on buying the seller before the product. What I did do that was very intelligent that I suggest other people do, especially if you're an independent consultant or someone who doesn't have a team of authenticators and watch technicians, is you get to know people like we're about to see down here, who become your partners and friends, who are watch technicians, who are industry experts, who can look at these timepieces for you and actually authenticate them. So I rely on my experts. I outsource this to make sure that every single timepiece I have is authentic, because they're so good at getting fakes nowadays. It's a $1 billion industry that you can't even be sure just looking at it with the naked eye or having done this for a long time. Out of doing this for 7 years, I think I've gotten 3 fakes. I had a Hublot that was one of the best fakes I'd ever seen in my entire life off eBay. The serial on the back matched the card, and the card was stamped and dated from a real authorized dealer. So I actually emailed Hublot from that dealership and said, is this real? They said no. I returned the Hublot and got my money back, and that eBay seller is now gone. The second was I got a Panerai that was a fake that was easy to identify. So that one didn't even stay in my hands for long. I just said, nope, this is a fake, and I returned it. And then the third, recently actually, I brought into my partner here, who we're going to go see. It was an Audemars Piguet Royal Oak Offshore diver that had a fake case, but the movement was real. So my technician was looking at it. He started saying, this is a fake, this is a fake. And he's like, you want to know something funny? He says, the movement in this is real. It was a clone. You know what I mean? I had the Pepsi coming in today, Andy, and I had the Pepsi come in, and FedEx was supposed to come at 10:30. They came at 12, so now I gotta go run over and get that later. I'm just like, what the hell, like.
What, did you get it or you didn't get it?
My friend and colleague and I guess kind of quasi-partner, Andy at Sansom Watches place. He does fabulous polish service, educates people on timepieces, and I remember when I was getting started out, it's interesting because you go into jewelers and dealers and it's always that stuffy, like transactional, like I don't, need to talk to you, go fuck off type of approach. And Andy was different. He just, is very welcoming and a good person, and we work well together. He has some really nice stuff from vintage to the popular, Rolex, Omega, got some Speedmasters, Breitling, there's like Fortuna, some other Fortuna, and Lacos, and then Rolex, of course, the Datejust, which are all beautiful. Like, so he gets stuff that moves well. But we have an ongoing joke because this is kind of more my style stuff. I don't usually mess with things that are under the 5K range, and we'll get involved in some oddball stuff, which is really nice, like this Ulysse Nardin Maxi Marine Diver in all gold. It's a 266. I actually love this watch. Here, I'll show you a close up. And some of this Panerai too, I get involved with. But Audemars Piguet, he had like an Audemars Piguet Royal Oak Offshore Shaquille O'Neal. That was pretty interesting. Probably a slow mover, but a really cool watch. And that's usually when I'm moving. So if I'm talking to him, and he has clients who want that type of offshore or Patek Philippe or something, I can usually source it for him. And if I have guys who are looking for Speedmaster, Man on the Moon, or some Datejust stuff, I definitely pick it up off of him. So he's one of my sources for that. Like this is gorgeous too. I don't have one of these in, but two-tone Daytona.
I pretty much am targeting the $1,000 to $5,000 mark.
Yeah.
Once in a while I'll get the plus 5,000, but that's not really the thread that I'm after, but it keeps finding me once in a while. And Cal is the opposite. He wants to go from 5,000 and up. So we have a different client base, and I think there's a lot more power in cooperation. And your typical jewelry network, everybody's competing so hard against one another that they miss the whole cooperation thing. So yeah. I think what we got going here is pretty cool.
Yeah, that's actually a good point. Is dog eat dog. Like, one of the most interesting things to me is just seeing dealers and wholesalers just like pretend to be nice to each other until they don't need to use each other, and then it's like, no, go fuck yourself. Yeah. And they just like hate each other. But if you can cooperate, there's more power, I think, in leveraging what you have going on. And again, that's what I try to do with everyone but brokering is a huge part of my business. So again, sometimes it allows you to make a sale and get something for someone that they want without having to put up the capital risk to do it, which is fantastic. I mean, I love brokering for that reason, and that's my experience coming from the energy world where I was a broker. If you can broker well, you can make a lot of money. You don't need to put up the capital risk to do it. So it's about having good connections and working in cooperation with those people to do it. And you can tell I'm enjoying this Elise Nardin on my wrist again because I missed it. So. This is like my business machine, my texting machine, my call machine. Like, this is everything. This is like how everything gets done right now. And I get grief from friends and family because I'm always on the phone. Always on the phone. Trust me, I don't want to be, but it's the only thing that keeps business going, which is good and bad. Good is I can literally do business anywhere. Bad thing is I can't disconnect. I mean, that's a problem with a lot of people nowadays, but I actually do need it for business. I'll probably end up walking into traffic or something, you know? Let's go get the car. Go see if we have time. We'll pick up, see if we can pick up this Pepsi. A lot of the dealers and the jewelers are third generation, so they've been handed buildings and money and inventory and process. So coming in as a new person with a new model and all this stuff it's kind of interesting. You really got to have thick skin. The industry is filled with a lot of good old boys. They want to keep it the way that they've been doing it. They've always done it this way. They don't like new people trying to shake things up. So the way that I found best to combat that is you just hold your ground, do what's right for your customers, be a respectful person, and don't be easily, fazed by it. Don't be pushed around, don't be bullied, don't be waving on your morals or what you believe in or what you want to do for people, because guess what? All those guys, they're flakes. They want to strong arm people into doing what they want to do because they've been doing it so long, and they're afraid. They're afraid to adapt. They're afraid that they're not going to keep up. I mean, the brick and mortar jeweler shit is like slowly dying. You figure out their secrets and you start educating people on why these things are happening. People don't like it. And so they find out, and then they do anything in their power to basically try to make sure you will never do business in this industry. The only loophole and the downside on them trying to do that they don't realize is, one, people like me who are traders and consultants don't rely on one dealer or one jeweler to get all our watches. I get a lot of my stuff from private people and private sellers who don't give a shit. And two, it doesn't matter, because at the end of the day, what I do provides enough value to that client that they're gonna go with whatever they think is best. And I'm not saying don't go deal with people who are great dealers, because I have a lot of great dealers and jewelers who I trust. I'm saying don't deal with people who are assholes or rip you off, and have been for years. And the funny thing is, they get all angry and they get all upset when people come in and try to shake up the game and change the model, and they hate on it, but they're just afraid. And even funnier is they start attacking each other. So, you sit there, and a lot of guys who don't have thick skin will say, oh, I must be doing something wrong, or these guys hate me, or I'm afraid to go against saying something about them, because if I do, I'll never get my wholesale deals that I get, which are garbage wholesale deals anyway. But the funny thing is, as soon as they want to flip the script, or they want to change it up, or they want to do something, they don't have any loyalty, those dealers. They'll literally just bite each other's own. It's the dog-eat-dog type of approach, like Andy was saying earlier, and they screw each other over. So I don't want to do business with anyone who I can't rely on. Well, that guy just blew a stop sign. That was interesting. Who don't, look out for each other and have that kind of loyalty in business. Cause I just went to go pick up the FedEx package, but of course no one had come by to drop off the package yet, which I kind of assumed. But since FedEx didn't leave the drop-off time on the card, you just never know. So I'm just eating on the way to the next appointment. My barbershop. I give them some business. They throw me business. They elevated the entire like hair experience. So when I go there, we sit down, we talk some shop. They hand out my business cards. They have a lot of high-end, high net worth individual clients, so they'll recommend them to me. I'm their watch plug, and I actually got my barber his first Rolex, which he was wanting, because he has nice suits, very well presented and done, so we'll see him wearing it, but he wanted to step up his game, and there's nothing that I love more than getting people who I like and know a watch that they want. You know, it's a really good feeling, and I think that's what you got to have in this industry to survive and do well. You got to love what you do, because there's a lot of downs, there's a lot of hard times, there's a lot of, you know, times where you don't know if you're going to make enough money to go to the next month, or you're going to have like a cyclical lull due to the economy. And if you don't love what you do, or care about the people that you're buying it for, then you're just not going to make it. Like, and there's plenty of people who try to be watch dealers or watch traders or watch consultants. You know, they say they do these things, but as soon as one thing goes wrong, or they screw one person over, they're out of it. Ethos, they're my boys. It's their new spot. So you got the not only this, but show off your Rolex that I got him there. So that's a vintage.
I met Cal through another client of ours, Morgan Hunt. Cal came through, it was an instant connect. Obviously, there were some synergies within lifestyle, within taste, within just being a lover of fine things and all good things, whether that's, you know, a grooming experience or a luxury timepiece. And I think that's kind of where Cal and I connected. He ended up sourcing me. We had some deliberation over which watch that would be my next timepiece. He pretty much sourced me the perfect one, which is this vintage 1005 Rolex Oyster Perpetual 1560 caliber. You know, it was a perfect watch for me because I feel like it fits my lifestyle. Watches for me has always been an accessory that are, you know, that is essentially very, very, what's the word I'm looking for? Very essential to a man's lifestyle, and it should be consistent with a man's lifestyle. The look of it should be consistent, the size of it should be consistent. All of those things should be consistent with the guy's lifestyle, and how they live their life. To bundle my personality in a watch, it would be this. It's classic. I can wear it up or down. It's very versatile, but it's timeless at the same time. You know, so that's basically why I chose this. And obviously, Cal gave me the best experience possible in purchasing this timepiece. So if there's anybody out there who's looking for a decent timepiece,
Good life, but it's also sometimes it's day by day. I mean, you know, you see some of the fun stuff that goes on, but at the same time, there's a lot of hard work. I mean, some days I'm literally just working out of my home office 16, 17 hours a day, trying to close deals, trying to sell watches, trying to educate other people. I do make revenue educating other people on how to do this as well. So tonight I have a live training session with some students to help them buy, sell, trade watches. So those are the things that are rewarding: meeting these people, having conversations, building friendships, closing deals, making money. Like, that's the good stuff. But you got to fight through some of the scary stuff, or the risky stuff, and the, you know, not so fun stuff to get there. And eventually you get a little bit out of the layer cake and you stop eating shit. You know what I mean? So that's the way it is. We'll see if we can pick up this Rolex and top off a good day. But you never know. FedEx could really just close off that positive cap. And then there's the Instagram. You gotta play the music with the fucking watch, and then, you know, this is the way the new people do business. They
Little 10 piece for it just to blow it in the mall. Doesn't mean that we involved. I just put a Richard on the card. I ain't going playing ball, but I'll show you how to gotta do it if you really wanna buy.
The kids don't want to do that anymore. They want to wear their own unique style. They want their own brand, and they don't want to follow the rules of the generations you know, before them. They want to define their own generation. And so I see a lot of anything from new collectors who are trying to be sophisticated with some vintage and Speedmaster type, more reduced size pieces. And then I see the guys who are like, I saw that Rolex and I heard Jay-Z say Patek Philippe, so I'm gonna go try to cop Patek Philippe. Like, they'll just do what they're seeing that is important in their life. And what's really crazy is now information is flowing so freely that unfortunately I think some of the information is more convoluted than ever. So you get guys and kids out there on the forums, I'm sure you've seen this, where you post something up and everyone jumps on it like, that's a fake, that's this, and they all think they're experts, and they're not. None of them are fucking experts. They're all being toolboxes and clowns, but it just becomes this whole kind of like convoluted space of people thinking they know what they're doing. And now more than ever, we need people to provide information that is clear, that is concise, that gives some folks guidance as to what to look for, things that will hold value, things that won't, et cetera, et cetera. But it's pretty interesting because I think the youth is really holding on to timepieces still. They're just going in their own kind of curated way of picking those things out. But what I think is crazy is there's a lot of micro brands popping up with the launch of Kickstarter, with the launch of, build your own, do your own type of stuff. And in a cool way, I appreciate the low barrier to entry of people creating their own watches and timepieces. But the messed up thing is you get these kids and these guys who are like, oh man, I got this millionaire watch that I saw on Facebook advertising. It's called a millionaire watch because it looks like it has a tourbillon in it, and it doesn't at all. Or they're like, look, I have an MVMT because they did a great job marketing and I think I'm cool. And I'm like, dude, that's like a fucking piece of shit. Like, that's like a $20 piece of shit. But they're being told via Facebook ads and like Instagram ads that these like Kickstarter campaign micro brand things are hyper luxury. So that's the thing that the boutique brands are going to have to face. Like, they're going to have to fight that, because whoever has the ability to get in front of these younger generation types' eyes quicker and more is going to command what they actually think. Victory! It's like a kid in a candy store. Here you go. Wow. Alright, this better not be messed up. Let's see if we can open it, because usually I have my moment finally has come after much struggle and logistic nightmare. Okay. This box. It's over here. So many things. Oh yeah, and there she is. Perfect. It better fit my wrist, that's all I got. After you blow, even though I love this thing, it has to take backseat to the Pepsi. But again, there's stickers on this thing, so I just gotta make sure those are left on. Oh yeah, that's it. Perfection. Day in the life. The future is really my oyster. I think something I always think about, and I'm a very visionary type person. I'm a very 10,000 foot view type person, and what I want to try to do is maintain focus so that I can execute every single day to get closer to what I want Nightwatch to be, but still have a big enough vision that it makes me a little anxious, and it's something that seems unattainable in certain capacities. So I would love and envision Nightwatch to be a consultancy business, and a business where I don't have to be in the day-to-day, where folks who are really smart, interesting people come to learn more about timepieces, to buy, sell, and trade them with us, and almost form an elite group of clients and network. So we want to have customers who are the cream of the crop, so that they all know they're a member of Nightwatch. Like, I want my people to come together in this ultimate group of phenomenal individuals, knowing that there's this buy-in of this brand and this type of way that you hold yourself. So I don't want it to be, like I said earlier, a group of guys who just penny pinch and only want the lowest price and will go wherever they want. It's got to be people who can add value to others' lives, who are interesting, who do things for others, who are always on the move and have this positive attitude. Because if I can network and plug in those people as my clients together and add value through that network, the whole group becomes unstoppable. And that's what I want to be. I want to be the watch company that people look at as a luxury company and say, I'm jealous of that. I want that. I want that type of business, because no one will ever leave it. And so I guess the next step would be to personally be the go-to watch guy globally. Like, that's just my individual goal. For Nightwatch LLC, it's to become the go-to watch consultancy and luxury watch company globally. And then the even bigger vision is there's a lot of overlap in the luxury space, and the clients that we work with want the best of everything. So whether that's fine tailored suits, whether that's the best cut, whether that's wine, scotch, travel, and planning of luxury experiences, I want Nightwatch to branch out to be a luxury consultancy and a luxury concierge service to all of these elite individuals. So